This week on Christian World News, genocide in the Middle East, how Christians and other minorities are targeted. Now only a handful are left. Find out what's being done to stop this ethnic cleansing. Plus, the revival generation. A new documentary tells the stories of life-changing miracles happening across the nation. The premiere held in an iconic theater in Washington, D.C. And gospel graffiti. Meet the artist who's using his skill with paint cans to boldly display the message of Jesus. Welcome, everyone, to Christian World News. I'm Wendy Griffith. Well, throughout the Middle East, religious minorities are the target of ethnic cleansing. Jews, Christians, Yazidis, and others are threatened with extinction. Gary Lane brings us this look at their increasing persecution and possible annihilation.
December 2010, Tunisians ignited a spark leading to the so-called Arab Spring, fueling hope that freedom and democracy would spread rapidly throughout the Middle East. Those hopes, however, became dashed as the dream turned into a nightmare. In Egypt, Muslim Brotherhood rule led to burned churches and bloodshed. The rise of the Islamic State followed with even greater atrocities, spreading to Iraq and Syria. Minority faiths, now considered infidels, were forced to convert to Islam, pay a jizya tax, or face death. Many Christians, Jews, Yazidis, and moderate Muslims chose to flee. Hillary Miller of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom argues that now, outside of Israel, Jews have all but disappeared from the Middle East.
At its height in the 1940s, the Jewish community of Egypt numbered at 80,000. 80,000. Today, there are fewer than 10 Jews residing between Alexandria and Cairo.
75 years ago, a community of 50,000 Jews thrived and prospered in Syria. Today, no Jews remain. Miller reports that's also happened in Yemen, home to the Houthi militia.
Today, from an ancient community nearly 2,000 years old, which at its peak numbered at 55,000 Jews, one Jew remains in Yemen. His name is Libby Marhabi, and he has languished in Houthi prison since 2016. His crime? Attempting to carry a Torah scroll from Yemen to Israel.
Historically, Christians in Syria and Iraq numbered between 3 to 4 million. Today, however, their population has dwindled to around 300,000 in each country. Carmela Borishan, the director of the Sussex Evangelistic Association, believes that although ISIS is no longer a significant threat in northern Iraq, its outdated 7th century mentality still lingers. CBN News spoke with her at this summer's Coptic Solidarity Conference.
I was going to ask you if you consider it genocide. What is happening?
It is very subtle ethnic cleansing that is covered really well. A lot of Western world don't see it because they are protecting the patriarchs.
Iraq's Yazidi minority faith group is facing a critical decline. The United Nations reports that ISIS killed nearly 5,000 Yazidis and kidnapped at least 7,000 women and girls. 10 years later, 3,000 Yazidi females remain in captivity. Jamila Nazo, president of the Canadian Yazidi Association, faults the international community for not doing enough to rescue them.
I sit with these mothers and they show me photos of their kids and they say they're in this house, in this community, on this street, in this village in Iraq. And there's nothing we can do to get them because there's no political will on any fronts.
In June, tragedy struck the Christian community in Syria when armed jihadists opened fire and detonated a suicide vest at St. Elias Church. Located on the outskirts of Damascus, the attack occurred as Christians gathered for worship. A total of 24 people were killed, leaving the Christian community in mourning and shock. This incident raises an important question following last year's fall of the Assad regime and the appointment of Ahmed al-Shara as president. Was this a rare occurrence, or is the threat of annihilation for Syria's Christian minority growing? Will Ahmed al-Shara's HTS government make a difference?
Al-Shara himself may turn out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, but he said a lot of the right things to date. But some of the things that are happening really do not inspire confidence.
After the massacre of minority Alawites and others last March, and in light of the deaths of over 1,000 minority Druze, In tribal violence in southern Syria last month, al-Shara turned to Turkish President Erdogan for military assistance. He requested military equipment and training to help protect religious minorities. Brian Morrow from the Capital Research Center is skeptical of Western leaders who speak as if al-Shara won an election. That's because if he were to hold an election today, Morrow says it's likely he would lose because both religious minorities and Muslim extremists dislike him.
So who's left? Oh, the Muslim Brotherhood? Maybe he's moving in that direction because it's been so successful. No, they're not going to accept him either because he's talking about normalizing ties with Israel. And even if it's a trick, he's gone way too far. He's taken a step beyond what they would even say is permissible by deception.
The question remains of who will protect the Middle East religious minorities from annihilation. Many Syrian Christians turn to God rather than governments to shield them from jihadist attacks. Additionally, a Syrian International Council representative, Asherena Abraham, suggests that Western leaders must urgently intervene before it's too late.
We cannot have meaningful conversations about protecting Christians if we are not listening to genuine Christian voices. If we remain silent now, this pattern of murder and injustice will continue until the very last Assyrian in Syria is dead or gone, and every road of our homeland is once more fractured and regimes continue to pave over our freshly dead, bloody bodies. A community who still speaks the language of Jesus and whose evangelistic force spread Christianity from India to China will be a footnote in history.
And CBN News Chief International Correspondent Gary Lane is with us now. Gary, talk about this new government in Syria and the threat that they pose to Christians.
Well, Christians don't believe that al-Shara will protect them. He's 42 years old, as you know, and you and I talked about this earlier, a former member of ISIS, a former member of Al-Qaeda. He founded the al-Nusra group, which was very much like Al-Qaeda. It was just a front for ISIS, really. And they don't trust him. They say a leopard cannot change his spots. Even though he talks a good game, they don't believe, Wendy, that he is going to do anything to protect them.
Well, I don't either, actually. Well, in southern Syria, the Druze community is under attack. What role is Israel playing in defending them and why?
Well, Israel has had airstrikes, as you know, in southern Syria in recent months. I think it started back in December of last year. And they're designed to protect the Druze because the Druze have been attacked by Bedouins. They've been attacked by even members of the Syrian army, the new Syrian army, and others. And Israel wants to protect them. And that is because they have a large Druze population in the Golan Heights. About 150,000 Druze reside there, and they're Israeli citizens. They're members of the Israeli military, and many of them have relatives in southern Syria. And as you know, Wendy, recently when there was this attack against them, the Israelis opened up the border and allowed the Druze to go in and defend their relatives in Syria. And the Israelis have also been involved in helping them medically, bringing them across the border, helping them medically. They've set up a security zone there in southern Syria to protect the Druze.
There's an ancient Christian community in Iraq, and their homeland is threatened. Gary, what's happening there?
Well, you know the story of Jonah. Jonah refused to obey the Lord and go to Nineveh, and then he was caught in a big fish and changed his mind, and then he went. But Nineveh, the Nineveh plain, is in northern Iraq, not far from Mosul, modern-day Mosul, and the Christians that reside there say they're not being protected. They have few rights. They're not being allowed to have representation in parliament the way they should. They say the government there, the Kurdistan government in northern Iraq, has allowed many Shabak people, that's another ethnic group, to move into the region, and others, and Kurds and others, and they say they're under threat. They don't believe they're being protected and that their rights are being protected.
And they're asking for prayer.
They're asking for prayer because these are Assyrian Christians. They've been there for many, many years. Devout Christians who want our prayer. And they say, Wendy, don't pray that this persecution will end, but pray that God will give us stronger backs to carry our crosses.
That's amazing. Such courage,
say that.
such boldness. All right, Gary, thanks so much for that. Well, coming up, a documentary tells of the revival sweeping America's college campuses, and the premiere held in one of America's most prestigious theaters. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Christian World News. Well, over the past few years, thousands of college students have given their lives to Christ during campus revivals, and it's all captured on film. The Revival Generation, a CBN documentary, premiered Wednesday night at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. CBN News reporter Amber Strong takes us inside the festivities.
With the Kennedy Center as the backdrop, the world premiere of CBN's documentary, The Revival Generation, encapsulated the essence of the film itself, a mantra to spread praise, worship, and the gospel message just about everywhere. Echoes of worship filled the halls of the famed Kennedy Center Wednesday. With a performance from Grammy Award-winning gospel artist Tasha Cobbs Leonard, spectators came from across the country to celebrate not just a film, but a movement.
To see a window into what God is doing, I just start crying.
The revival generation is here. As a young woman, I prayed for it, and now as an older lady with the young people, we're in the middle of it, and I'm excited.
The documentary from director Laura Hand tells the story of Tanya Pruitt, a mother on a mission to bring peace and the love of Christ to young people, one campus at a time.
Our prayers were focused on Gen Z, breaking the chains of anxiety and depression off of this generation.
I started getting contacted from students all over the nation saying, we're desperate. Our friends are committing suicide. Would you bring Unite to our campus? And so we've just been trying to keep up. We've been to 17 campuses. We've seen over 100,000 students gather, over 15,000 give their lives to Jesus.
The student-led explosion of baptisms and prayer caught the eye of film producers Abigail Robertson and Callie Everett.
In January, called Tanya and said, would you allow us to follow your story and to share it? And she was very excited and said, the Lord told me that this summer I would have a film released. And I said, well, great, here we are.
Robertson adds that everything about the project, down to its red carpet debut, was rooted in Providence.
I was driving home one day, leaving the city, and I drove by the Kennedy Center, and I felt this strong impression from the Holy Spirit, I want my premiere there. And I audibly said, no way. And I prayed on that for the next 3 hours.
That prayer was answered. Kennedy Center Vice President of Public Relations Roma Duravi says the organization is making it a priority to bring faith front and center.
America is a Judeo-Christian nation, and at our very roots is where we find our faith. So there is absolutely no reason why faith-based programming shouldn't be a large part of what we're doing here at the Kennedy Center.
Dr. Ben Carson, featured in the film, calls this a special time for Christian media and beyond.
Just thinking about the fact that we're talking about Christian revival at the Kennedy Center of all places tells you that there's a real movement that's going on.
And the film's producers see this as just the beginning.
The atmosphere is ripe for revival. We need a major outpouring of the Holy Spirit. That's my prayer, that tonight is about far more than a premiere, that we see what we're showing in this film, an actual mighty move of God.
While the curtain may be closing on tonight's premiere, there's still a chance for audiences to catch this film as it moves to DVD and streaming. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Amber. I was there, and it was spectacular. The CBN documentary, The Revival Generation, is available for streaming and on DVD. Just go to the website, therevivalgeneration.com. Well, up next, he's spreading the gospel with graffiti. This artist is sharing his passion for Jesus by painting messages on Chicago's South Side. Stay with us. Welcome back. Graffiti is most often associated with rebellion and crime. Well, on Chicago's South Side, one artist is using his talent with cans of spray paint for a redemptive angle as a creative way to share the gospel. John Jessup has the story.
When it comes to religious art, most people think of stained glass windows or Michelangelo's famous frescoes in the Sistine Chapel. For some, it also includes graffiti and street art.
Show up the first day to paint. Finally, I just started coming by faith, seeing the progression happen.
Eric Diaz, who goes by AD, started as a graffiti artist in his teens and is still at it. AD's latest work is showcased in Chicago's South Side. This colorful mural, commissioned for an evangelistic shoe giveaway, recently covered by CBN News.
People, regulars, would come by, hug, I love your work, like smile from ear to ear. You're doing amazing, let's go, like UPS drivers.
Today, his art is sanctioned unlike the time he picked up his first can of spray paint.
I'm getting arrested. The police officers are taking my spray tips, and I remember them throwing them.
That all changed when he became a Christian. AD planned to leave graffiti behind. Then summer youth camp mentors convinced him to keep it up and remember to use a key Bible verse as his guide.
And they begin to use my gifts. They say, hey, we want to put some spray cans in your hands. So 1 Corinthians 10:31, a very special verse to me. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do unto the glory of God. And I put that spray paint back in my trunk, and so now I began to do it for the Lord.
It's a principle AD instills when painting.
You know what Jesus prayed for 3 times? Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me.
Preaching at summer youth camps, or while involved in his other passion, mentoring young kids.
We also go to where students spend most of their time already, their schools.
AD manages volunteers for Chicago's GRIP Outreach for Youth, where he and others help kids grow spiritually and gain important life skills.
I would not be getting my associate's degree, coming out of high school with my associate's degree. I would not be doing none of this if it wasn't for my mentor of teaching me how to see life in a different way.
Having AD as a mentor is one of the most grateful and pleasurous things of having him. He's a great mentor.
Eric says projects like these used to be self-serving and filled him with pride. Now it's about community, painting positive messages and sharing his passion, and sometimes even his paint, with the unreached and the next generation.
He's found graffiti offers a way to connect with young kids, helping them navigate the pressures of growing up.
With the social media generation, there's no room for weakness, there's no room for poverty, so there's a lot of fronts. These facades, they don't come down until they know that you care about them, and then we meet that need and we show them the love of Christ.
Christian ministries like the Gospel Graffiti Crew show the art form has moved beyond rap and hip-hop culture. AD believes his work resonates on both artistic and spiritual levels.
We are longing for freedom, we're longing for life, for redemption, and somehow I think spray paint and graffiti captures that. It's like you see browns, you see grays everywhere, and then all of a sudden you're driving on the highway, or you see on the L, you see life.
The pride he feels on pieces like this one is not just personal, it's shared, with his young audience learning the ropes and gaining confidence, as well as the community at large.
I hope that he does more of these across the city, because it brings a positive message to the city of hope, of light, sharing the gospel.
AD wants that positive message to last long after the paint peels or fades away. John Jessup, CBN News, Chicago.
Cool, CBN got in there. That's cool. Well, you can get Christian World News delivered straight to your inbox. To sign up for our weekly email update, just go to cbnworldnews.com. We'll be right back. Finally this week, the island of Mallorca, Spain, is often seen as an international party destination. For 2 weeks this summer, however, hundreds of Christians there shared the love of Jesus through boardwalk prayers, beach services, and ocean baptisms. Take a look.
These young people, mainly from Germany, Switzerland, and Spain, worked with local churches to share the gospel in Mallorca's nightlife zones. Gernot Elsner of Gospel Tribe says the island is one of the most fruitful places for evangelism, despite its reputation.
Well, you got to imagine the party zone, and there's a little boardwalk just in front of the discotheques. And people, they step outside just to take a break from drinking, and partying. And we're there right in the sand with a little stage. And first, when they see us, they're kind of perplexed because it's the last thing they imagine to have somebody talk about Jesus right there. They come back every night. They listen to the messages, to the testimonies. Some give their lives to Jesus, and others are even baptized in the ocean.
Tell us about the party boat and the nightly baptisms that take place.
Usually these boats are used for party tourism. People would get drunk on the boat, they would listen to music and all that. We filled it half with Christians and half with non-Christians. And then the concept was that we wouldn't preach at them, but that we only share a small input about the gospel. And those people on the boat that are Christians, they knew what their job was. every night when we do the beach services, there are people stepping into the sand, they're coming to the cross, they're sharing their life stories, they're really repenting at the cross, many of them. If we feel that people are ready, and particularly that they haven't drunk alcohol, we offer them to baptize them. And I'm just thinking of one person that we baptized this year. His name is Jose. He's from Switzerland. He lives on the island, and he went through a lot of bad stuff. And he was approaching us because he heard the gospel, at the beach services, and said, I want to be baptized. And from that evening, every night he came back, he brought his friends, he shared with them, you need Jesus too.
I love it. And how would you describe the reception to the gospel?
Well, I think there are always three reactions. There are people who just find it curious what we're doing, and they ask, like, do you know where you are? Why are you doing this in the party zone? They have nothing against it, but they're just curious. Then there are those who say, hey, please leave me alone. I don't want to hear anything about God. But then there are literally every night, twice, many hundreds of people, and they stand there for an hour, for 2 hours. They listen, they share their most intimate secrets. They come into the sand to the cross to receive Jesus. As I just shared, some of them are being baptized. And we really cannot explain why there is such a grace on this outreach and why there is such a tangible presence of God.
Elsner says often there are prodigals in the crowds who make the decision to return to Christ.
And many times among the party tourists, there are also people who used to be Christians and they know they don't belong there. And, when they're being confronted with the gospel, they become aware and there are actually people, turning back to Jesus right there on the spot.
Amen.
I think the one thing that I really want to bring across is if it's possible to reach young people in the party zone where they go for partying, for sex, for alcohol, I really think it's possible anywhere.
That's the line that got me. If it's possible in the party zone to reach people for Jesus, it's possible anywhere. We got to get out of our comfort zones. I'm preaching to myself. Well, that's a great way to end the show. And thanks for joining us this week. From all of us here, goodbye and God bless you.